welcome to another brand new episode of Dingers and Stingers, the podcast that knows that the most important impression is the first impression. And we are talking about week one of the NFL. And later on in the show, we are going to talk about our first impressions from week one. We're going to talk about some people who were in new situations, who had a chance to show us what they're made of and show us what that new situation will look like. We're also going to talk about our overreactions to the action in week one, and then maybe the debut of Fan Corner and Locked In the NFL show. Maybe, I don't know if we've done it before, but I think so. So stay tuned throughout the episode for that. This is our week one extravaganza, and for our NFL in season shows, I thought that something fun to do at the top of the show is just run down real quick who won and who lost in the week before. So our NFL shows will be mostly around recapping the week that was. We'll look forward to the week that will be a little bit, but it'll mostly be talking about the action that happened in the week before. So with that in mind, let's go around the league in 20 seconds, and I will go ahead and name off the winners and losers from week one.
I'm going to put a little timer in the corner in the edit. I'm going to make sure this is 20 seconds.
I was going to say, start the clock, because here we go. The winners are the Eagles, Chargers, 49ers, Cardinals, Colts, Raiders, Steelers, Commanders, Jaguars, Bengals, Buccaneers, Broncos, Packers, Rams, Bills, and Vikings. The losers were the Bears, the Ravens, the Texans, the Lions, the Titans, the Falcons, the Browns, Panthers, Giants, Jets, Patriots, Dolphins, Saints, Seahawks, Chiefs, and Cowboys.
I heard Seahawks in the loser category.
We'll get to that a little later on. So that is who won and who lost in week one. Undefeated versus fully defeated. You can't get around it, I guess, unless you tie. But, you can't get around it. In week one, you are either undefeated or fully defeated. Half the league, absolutely 17-0 off the table for half the league. That's the great sweep off there. So let's move on from winners and losers and talk about our first impressions, like we talked about here. So like I mentioned, we're going to talk about some guys who are in new situations or who we saw for the first time ever in week one and what our first impressions are. And so we're going to start in Las Vegas with the Raiders. They have a new look offense. Geno Smith at quarterback, Ashton Jeanty, the much hyped running back coming in from Boise State, and Chip Kelly, the new offensive coordinator in the Pete Carroll administration. So new look offense, supposed to be, bring some competitiveness to this team because the defense is, pretty rock solid from a lot of standpoints. So let's take a look at what our first impression was of that new offense, and let's have Drew talk about that a little bit before we all get into it.
Yeah, it's Pete Carroll's debut with the Raiders as well, so I guess getting a look at his team. But they won. That's the ultimate goal. That's the most important thing. They got the win over the Patriots. It was 20-13 final score. So what does that say about the offense? It wasn't super inspiring. And, let's be honest. It's the Raiders that we've known for years. Yes, they've got some new pieces that we like. But I don't think it was going to be an overnight, they're all of a sudden one of the best offenses in football. I'm not, football wise enough to break down how Chip Kelly did at, play calling or whatever. But I will say the offense was not super efficient. They were about dead even with the Patriots in time of possession. Nothing that, was there to really write home about. And it's not like the Patriots are like some outstanding defense. We'll see as the year goes on, but, I wouldn't necessarily put them in the top tier. Geno kind of looked like classic Geno. He didn't really do anything that wowed you, but he didn't really like make any ugly mistakes. And then I think the one people are most excited about is Ashton Jeanty. Not a great debut, kind of a debut to forget. He did get into the end zone, but 19 rushes and only 38 yards. That's 2 yards per rush. I don't expect it to stay there. but if it does, that's not going to cut it. That's just simply not good enough.
I mean, that's 38 yards is about what he averaged per carry in college, so it's really quite a fall off.
Right. So I know, it's easy to get really excited about these prospects, and running back going that high is pretty rare nowadays. But I think it's smart to kind of temper the expectations a little bit. Remember, the Raiders were not a good team, and I have still very, very high hopes for Ashton Genty's NFL career. But yeah, I don't, his rookie year could be not as exciting as a lot of people thought, because the NFL is harder than college, and the Raiders just aren't the greatest team. But they got the win. They are currently tied for first place in all of NFL. So good for the Raiders.
Yeah.
Any Raiders thoughts, Matt?
No, dude. I mean, Drew pretty much covered the bases there. It's tough because there is so much hype placed on rookies every year, and especially when you see a guy kind of break the positional value and go high. I mean, we saw this with Kyle Pitts, and it happens, once every year, maybe every other year. But they say, more important than draft position is where you actually get drafted to. A player's value is inherently tied to the team they're on. And yeah, the Raiders were not a good team, and that doesn't mean that he's not going to have a good career there. It just means that they were a team that needed to improve in a lot of areas. So, the best is probably ahead for him. But definitely for people who took him in the first round of fantasy drafts, they're probably sweating a bit. So,
Yeah, I think if there's anything we know about a Pete Carroll team, they will get better at running the ball. They will get more, he'll get more reps at running the ball, for sure, in games. That's what they want to do. But I think, in the meantime, they are going to, I think maybe a good idea, and maybe the plan even, was to lean on Geno Smith while Ashton Genty gets his feet under him. And, in the first game, at least, that worked out pretty good. I get some advanced metrics from the great Ben Baldwin from rbsdm.com. That is a great phrase that I love, is running backs don't matter, RBSDM. And this is where I get advanced metrics like EPA and completion percentage over expected, which are good metrics for quarterbacks to measure how efficient they are, how impactful they are. And Geno Smith, when it comes to EPA per play this week, was sixth in as far as quarterbacks are concerned. And when it comes to his EPA and completion percentage over expectation together, he was fifth. Right between Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. So, I think if he can keep that kind of production up, the Ashton Genty will have a chance to get his legs under him. And once that happens, they'll have kind of an interesting situation going on over there. Whether that happens this year or next year, who's to say? But they'll have a little bit of an interesting situation going on there. Jacoby Myers also still good, even though he wanted to trade. Still looks like they plan to feature him heavily, which is good news for someone who drafted him in a league that is not ours. I think, Drew, you have him right in our league, right? So yeah, I was really upset about that, and not getting him in our league. But yeah, I got him in another one, so it's good stuff. So overall impressions. But the Raiders offense as a whole, with they were second to last in rush EPA per play. So that drugged the offense down to about middle. So the first impression that we got there was pretty much right. They're pretty much middle of the road until they can get that running attack going. They're going to look like a lot of what they looked like on Sunday, which is an offense that can get it done, but is also vulnerable if the Geno Smith show does not show up. So let's go ahead and move to our next first impressions, and let's get Matt involved here and go to we got two guys that we're going to talk about from the same game. So we're going to talk about Monday Night Football, Vikings versus Bears. We saw JJ McCarthy at quarterback for the first time in the regular season, and we saw Ben Johnson with the Bears for the first time this season. So let's talk about our first impressions about those guys and go to Matt for that.
Yeah, I mean, this was obviously like a very highly anticipated game. It was given the Monday night slot of week one. It was two very, desirable debuts. We get the golden boy of the coaching cycle of the last like 3 years, finally took a head coaching job with the Bears, has the previous number one overall pick. And then JJ McCarthy, like, he came off the national championship, had all this hype building around him in the offseason. He was the OTA GOAT and then unfortunately got hurt and missed the entirety of his rookie season. So that led to this like very like highly anticipated game, and it ended up really just being a kind of tale of two halves. Like the opening quarter and really the first half was so bear dominant. Like they came out on their opening drive, drove straight down. They were, I believe it said, one of the like three teams who didn't have an opening drive touchdown last year. And, to come out this year and instantly drive down the field and score. Caleb looked sharp. The run game looked good enough. And, that offensive line looked pretty revamped. That interior of the offensive line looked impactful. And JJ looked terrible, man. He had like two passing attempts through the first like quarter and a half. He took a couple sacks, and everyone thought the game was really going to tip at this point where JJ McCarthy throws a pick six. It's his first touchdown pass, as Bears fans on Twitter wanted to say. And it felt like that moment should have gone the other way and instead fully just turned the tables on the game. JJ McCarthy came out and started dealing. And, you saw him going up and down the sideline. That dude looks like a maniac when he's talking. And Ben Johnson, I don't know what happened to his offense, but they just couldn't find any consistency. So, as far as first impressions go, I think you saw kind of the best and worst of both of them, which is a very interesting debut to say the least, because the Vikings end up coming back and having kind of a walk-off drive at the end, not a technical walk-off, but what essentially was a walk-off drive. JJ McCarthy looked sharp in that second half. He looked pretty dialed, and Ben Johnson had his offense just humming in the first half, and then they couldn't find their feet at all in the second. So it had a lot of good and bad for both, but overall, I think people see kind of the upside for both of these is like, man, JJ McCarthy has the talent to be a legit contender in this league, and Ben Johnson, if he can get Caleb to play like he did in the first half, he might be the guy who can unlock someone like Caleb. So overall, I think great debuts. My first impression is positive on both ends. Coaching usually takes a while to start seeing consistency. And this is JJ McCarthy's rookie year. He's gotten a year of mental reps, but physically, it's different when you're on the field, man. Like you just can't replicate that. So, positive first impressions over on Monday Night Football this week.
Yeah, Monday night thoughts, Drew. Anything else?
Yeah, I thought, it's kind of a trend that we see when a offensive mind finally gets the gig as the head coach with a new team, and they open up with like such a crisp drive. I remember it happening with John Gruden's
Mm-hmm.
Raiders. I remember it like it just is a thing that happens, and um, I have faith in Ben Johnson. I think he'll be a good coach. But yeah, we you also need the players to execute. And then for JJ McCarthy, I mean, yeah, I think whether they would have done it if he was healthy or not, I think it was beneficial for him to sit a whole year. I think that's a thing that most rookie quarterbacks should do. Not
Mm-hmm.
all. There's exceptions, but I think it definitely showed he showed maturity that you don't see for a guy in a first career start. So
Yeah,
um, good on him.
yeah.
Yeah, sure thing. And the run game for Minnesota, I think you saw in the second half there, between the defense and the run game finally, making something happen in the second half. You saw kind of like the fact that JJ McCarthy really is in that nice situation for a first year quarterback. Once uh, what's his name, Addison comes back, he's going to
Mhm.
be in that situation where he's got two really good receivers he can rely on.
He's got great
He's
tight
got
end, great offensive
great,
line.
yep, great tight end. Offensive line looks good. The run game looks good. The defense looks good. And so he can live in that, 25 to 30 attempts range in his first year, and they can probably win, a good deal of games if everyone keeps playing like they're playing. And so, it just highlights that he's in that good situation. And then for the
Yeah.
Bears, you'd like to not see, the fall apart, and the kind of not being able to get back up after the Vikings kind of did deliver that punch. And you'd like to see them be able to close that out after how dominant they were in the first half. But, that's going to happen. Growing pains happen with new coaches and, guys who, like Caleb Williams, who we couldn't make heads or tails of him year one. And, now he's here in year two, and he's trying to, show that he can be, Superman, kind of, really.
Yeah.
And he was in the first half. There were a lot of things he did that looked really a lot better than last year. Particularly, he's getting the ball out quick, which is nice to see. He's not sitting back there taking 80 million sacks or however many times he got sacked last year. He's not sitting back there, sitting on routes. He is, taking what's there in the early looks of the year two. So, Ben Johnson, I'm sure, had him, for lack of a better term, in hell in the offseason, trying to hammer home, take what's there. Do not wait for
Yeah.
the big shot to open up. Take what's there. We will make our way down the field. Just,
Just make completions.
make it happen. Stat completions, and the rest will come. So let's stick with quarterback, because there is a high-profile rookie quarterback that also made his debut in Week 1, and we're going to go back to Drew for this one for Cam Ward because it was against the Broncos.
Yeah, Cam Ward, it's interesting. He looked very overmatched against a good defense in his first NFL game. And at the same time, I saw a lot to like from him. He looked poised. He never looked panicked. He never, we've seen so many rookie quarterbacks just look totally lost, especially playing against a good defense. And statistically, he did not play very well. Because the defense just kind of smothered him. He went 12 for 28 passing, only 112 passing yards, no touchdowns, but he also didn't have any turnovers. So that's a win in itself. There were some dropped passes by a couple receivers as well. And the Broncos defense, and I'll talk about them come fan corner, they just looked really good. And I think,
Yeah.
Any quarterback might have struggled in that game. So I'm still all aboard the Cam Ward train. I think he will be a really good player. And despite the numbers, I think you can look at him and see a future successful quarterback from that game.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I 100% agree. It feels like, like you're saying, if you actually watch the game, because if you look at the numbers, right, you see, oh, this is not good. This is a bad, debut. Did the Titans reach on something? But if you actually watch the game, he was one of the few spots on that offense where I was like, hey, look, he can actually do something here. And it was a lot of his team kind of letting him down. I mean, I believe the Broncos had the highest pressure rate, period, in Week 1, if not, being like in the top few. And yeah, it just it felt like. Sorry, I'm getting a text right now because one of my fantasy players is currently down on the field.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear.
Austin Eckler down permanently. Oh no, it's non-contact.
Well, that's not good.
All right, guys, I'm gonna have to.
We'll wait for some trades.
Oh,
We'll wait for
gosh.
some trade proposals from you.
Okay, I won't get distracted. I do have it up silently on another screen, and I just look over, and it's my guy, and he's just on the floor like, oh. Cam Ward looked good, man. At the end of the day, I think he played well. There's only so much you can ask for a rookie debut against arguably a top three, top five defense. You know, the DPOY cornerback is out there blanketing your number one receiver. Your offensive line is one of the worst in the league. Like, there's only so much you can ask for. I quite thought he did a good job for what was given to him. So yeah, I think Cam Moore's got a bright future as well.
That bright future may yet be have to may yet have to be put on hold one more week. Cam Ward does play against the Rams defense this week, week 2. So that may not look much better right away, but I agree that it's a tough draw, the Broncos and the Rams to start the year. But
I'm really
you know,
thinking long term.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. When you get into just playing other teams in that freaking division, like he's going to play his division opponents twice. I'm very interested to see what he looks like in those games because if he can kind of run things a little bit by the end of the year when he gets to those second matchups against those division teams, that's what I'd be looking to see. And
Yeah,
I didn't see anything in week 1 that would tell me that he, wouldn't be able to get there. And so, like Drew said, it was very basically like the metric that I was watching for Cam Ward was turnovers. Was he going to be able to keep it out of Denver's hands, keep from making bad decisions? He was going to be under a lot of pressure. Was he going to be able to keep from making bad decisions in those situations? He was clean as far as a turnover perspective. So you know what? I count that as a win for a first ever NFL game against a defense like the Broncos. So that was our first impressions. So, we picked some guys in new situations, took a look at them, and now what we're going to do is what you got to do week 1. You have to overreact. And so, we want to get a couple of overreactions from the two of you from week 1 action. So let us bounce back to Matt and give us your first overreaction from week 1.
yeah. My first overreaction that I have is I think people are overreacting to Aaron Rodgers' debut with the Steelers. Um, I didn't expect him to come out and do what he did. I didn't expect the Steelers to come out and put up 30 plus points on the Jets, a team who I truly believe has a pretty solid defense. And yet, I watched the entirety of that game because I do hate myself, and it it was one of the flukiest 4 touchdown, 300-yard games I've ever seen. His average depth of throw outside of like 2 or 3 passes to Calvin Austin was maybe at most 2 yards. Jonnu Smith had one of the best stat lines of all time, which was 5 catches on 6 targets for I want to say like 10 yards and a touchdown. Like it's just one of those things. Like when you look at the stats, it's one of the most inefficient games I've ever seen. And then there was just like 2 or 3 broken plays that each went for 40, 50, 60 yards. And all of a sudden, it looks like this fantastic game. And granted, I don't want to be like a what if or, what if that didn't happen guy, because it did happen and he made those plays. But like you take out the broken play, I forgot who it was, but it was the guy who did the deep crossing route. And then you take out the play to Calvin Austin, and it's like he barely hits 200 yards, and it's on like 20 plus something completion. It's just I didn't think that he was that dominant, yet the numbers are going to tell you he was. So yeah, I just think don't overreact. The Steelers team looked great with Russell Wilson week 1 last year. Uh, at some point, it is the Steelers. It is Arthur Smith. Do not forget who we're talking about here.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think, definitely you could have some overreaction to a performance like that from a guy who has such a status, right? Of,
Hmm.
being a guy who everyone maybe kind of wrote off by now, but like even the last couple of years was like, I don't know, maybe he could come back still. I think this year was the first year where everyone was like, for sure, no, and then come out and do something like this, prime overreaction territory. Um,
Yeah.
and I'll get to see it up close and personal this week. Week 2, Seattle's going to Pittsburgh, so I'll be able to see what it looks like. We might have another. We'll talk about it in Fan Corner. But so, any Aaron Rodgers thoughts on you, Drew?
Yeah, I don't know much about him as a player, but as a person, I mean, he's just doing the most.
He is doing the most. He is in that point at that point where it's like, you know, you don't really expect anything less from him when he's asked about like, oh, did it feel good to beat the Jets? And he's like, yeah. And it's just like, well, okay, yeah, I guess. Like earlier in his career, he might not have said that, I feel like. But now he's at a point where it's like everyone knows what the kind of person I am, so I'm just going to be that person now. And so, yeah, it was interesting. Shout out to that game, Justin Fields. Hive, rise up. TJ Watt Hive, rise down. He got given that work by a rookie offensive lineman for a lot of the game. But we can overreact there too to the defense. But let's bounce to Drew for your yeah.
I was gonna say, for those unaware, big Justin Fields fans on this podcast. I think I speak for all three of us that we're all big Justin Fields believers.
I've always been pulling for him. I
Yeah.
thought he was,
I thought he was going to be the
besides
future of the
Trevor Lawrence,
Broncos.
I thought he was the best quarterback in that draft. Look at Trevor Lawrence.
2 out of 3
Anyway.
ain't bad. Drew, let's talk about your first overreaction from this week. I think you both took different interpretations of this segment, which I like. But I'd be interested to hear what Drew's overreaction, what it sounds like when he says it.
This is my overreaction. This is how I feel, and it'll look silly in a few weeks. That's how I interpreted it.
Right.
Which, hey, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it.
I like having both ways. Yeah, it's great.
So my overreaction of the week is that my first one is that the Detroit Lions are cooked.
Yeah.
We talked last week that I had them just missing the playoffs. I did have the Packers winning this division. That is who they happened to play week 1. It was in Green Bay, all these factors, but the Lions did not come out looking very good. In fact, they didn't score a touchdown until it was garbage time at the end of the game. They were already down 27-6 with 3.5 minutes to go, and they finally scored a touchdown. Just not a good showing from the Lions. Their first game after losing both of their coordinators in the offseason to head coaching positions. I thought the Packers would be good. I thought the Lions would take a step back from what we're used to seeing, but this was pretty jarring. Just not a good performance by the Lions whatsoever. And I'm going to go ahead and overreact and say we might be back to mid to bad Lions.
Did you see the Twitter post that I sent in the group chat about the Lions? More specifically about Jared Goff.
Goof.
Jared Goff has had 5 different play callers in his career in games where that play caller is not named Sean McVay or Ben Johnson. He is 0-19-1. He has yet to win a game not under Sean McVay or Ben Johnson. So Lions are cooked may be the most based take here, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of like our Cam Ward talk. Like, I think we might look back at this game at the end of the year and be like, whoa, Packers were a tough draw week 1 of like being in a completely new thing with both coordinators being replaced. But, kind of the focus can be on the offense, but the defense was even kind of worse than the offense was. Certainly from an EPA perspective, I think it was like bottom 4. Let me double check that. I think like 28th. Yeah, so about bottom 5, bottom 4. And so, if things don't start looking better from that perspective, I mean, look, it's kind of like you're learning something new with a new offensive coordinator, but so you think it might take a little while to get the legs under it, but you trust these players, right? Like these players showed you so much, such are so talented, but it might be the fact that these guys, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, knew how to use them, all of them, and without them, they're just not being used correctly. Their strengths aren't being highlighted. Their weaknesses are being over highlighted. Whatever you want to say, it could be the case. So we'll keep an eye on the Lions to see if it's truly over for the Lions bros. But let's go for a second overreaction to Matt, and let's get your take on an overreaction that some people might be having as well.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk too about the game down in Jacksonville and the game that Travis Etienne had. People are thinking that he's back. They're wondering, was that hamstring injury really just something that lingered with him all of last season? He has this explosive, game against the Panthers, which most of that actually was on one run. I'm always weary of the overreactions early on of players who have these gaudy stat lines, and then you look and it was actually a single play, right? Like when you have an awesome stat line and it was like one broken run, one broken it to me I would rather see the guy who averages 5 yards a carry than the guy who breaks off one 60-yard run and gets caught by a middle linebacker. Like, to me, that means more. And yet people are going crazy for Travis Etienne. Like, um, he's at the top of like every fantasy analyst. You got to trade for him list right now. So it's an interesting thing, seeing the reaction people are having to Etienne, at least looking on the surface decent again. But I just don't see it. I don't think that he's going to find that much success in the Jaguars system, at least not this year. He could, but I don't know. I don't think their offensive line's any good. I don't believe in Sonny. So there's a lot of things that hold me back from buying into that one.
The Jaguars themselves maybe overreacted to Travis Etienne thinking he's back, right? They traded Tank Bigsby.
Traded Tank Bigsby.
Who, could have, it went into the season like, is this a committee? Is Tank Bigsby going to take the job? It took 1 week. And they shipped Tank Bigsby out. And so, Etienne is going to be featured there, and we'll see how that goes. I think it doesn't take much to pop when you are on the field with the Jaguars and the Panthers. I think that played into it as well. Like, if you watch that game and you're like, well, who stood out? Well, Travis Etienne, but who's he standing against? You know what I mean? Like, who else is out here? And so, you got rookie Travis Hunter, who, is still finding his legs. You've got, Brian Robinson Jr., Roberts Jr.,
Brian Thomas.
Brian Thomas Jr., who, is, going to be a big name this year to watch, but he didn't pop week 1. So it's not really hard to stand out when that's who you're on the field with. So we'll see if he truly is back or if it was short-lived flash in the pan type of thing. But let's go back to Drew for another overreaction and our last overreaction for week 1.
Yeah, I could see this being a take on Matt's list, and I'm going to be the person that, he would be saying, hey, you're overreacting. Daniel Jones, man, he came out against the Dolphins and just absolutely dominated them. The Colts won by a lot. I can't remember the exact score right now, and my computer's being all slow. But yeah, it was all Colts all day. Daniel Jones, kind of a controversial starting quarterback because they invested such a high pick in Anthony Richardson. It's his 3rd year. They're not just giving him the starting job. We've seen Daniel Jones. We kind of know what he is, but he looked good. He looked real good in week 1. And so yeah, let's all hop on board the hype train. Let's see let's see which, last year it was Saquon Barkley. Maybe this year the player that the Giants are really, face palming, getting rid of will be Daniel Jones. And, you know, maybe Colts can hang another AFC finalist banner in their beautiful arena.
Yeah, man. Look, that game, the Dolphins, man. I don't know if you guys saw any of
Hmm.
Mike McDaniel's press conferences throughout, after the game throughout the week. He is done. He is checked out. He's over it. It's just yeah, it's pretty crazy, the
Miami's
situation over
cooked, bro.
there. It could get really bad over there. It could get
Yeah.
really fire sale trade bad over there. And this was not a great start.
I
Giving
think
up,
not just file share trades. I think it could get toxic, dude. Like the
mhm,
personalities that are down there feel like it could get explosive too. Just like on
yeah,
their way out, people just burning the bridge. Like I do believe that Miami could be like one of the biggest dumpster fire seasons we've seen in a long, long, long time.
not that long ago, you know, they're hanging 70 on people, and now they're giving
On
up.
who?
They're
On
let
people,
they're letting the on people. And I didn't say it. Who knows who it was against? I can't remember. It was years ago. But now they're letting the Colts score on every drive of the game. Dang, how did we get here? But yeah, that's bad. But Daniel Jones, he looked pretty nice against that Miami defense. So yes, comeback player of the year. We'll see. All right, so let's move on to the first ever edition on our NFL show of Fan Corner. If you're not familiar with how this works, we are all big, big fans of our teams. And so while we like to spend the top part of the show and, yeah, most of the show talking about the rest of the league, as is our, responsibility, we also like to take some time to fan out a little bit and talk about our favorite teams. And so kind of get it out a little bit, right? Whatever we need to say, we like to say it. So let's start Fan Corner for NFL show, and let's go start with the Rams.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, the Rams are 1-0. We won our opener. That's really all you can ask. I remember, after the game, me and my dad always hop on a phone call after each Rams game and kind of debrief what we watched. And we're like, man, it looks like a team that didn't have their quarterback in the offseason. We looked sloppy. We looked out of sync at times. We gave up a decent amount of pressures, and it felt like this crazy, like tough game that we were lucky to win. And then the PFF grades start coming out afterwards, and it's like Matthew Stafford, PFF's number one graded quarterback of the week, and Alaric Jackson, our left tackle, who hasn't done a single team rep all offseason because he had blood clots, came in and completely held up his side of the edge against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. He gave up 0 sacks, 0 pressures. And it's just like, that's not what the game looked like. And yet it turns out the Rams played well. And maybe Houston is just that stingy. I don't know. But at the end of the day, as I said, a win is a win is a win. And we are currently 1-0. And couldn't be feeling better, man. We are mostly healthy. Puka got a gnarly looking Anakin Skywalker battle scar over his eye. But aside from that, like we came out pretty all right.
Not bad, not bad. All right, let's go to Denver and go to the Broncos. Drew, what's going on over in Broncos land? Are you muted, buddy?
yes, I am. Sorry about that.
This guy.
Um, Interesting game that it was kind of similar to the Rams game. It was not high scoring. It was kind of sloppy, um, specifically on offense. Bo Nix kind of looked out of sync, kind of looked jumpy, like he was trying to do too much at times. And he didn't have a great game. But at the end of the day, we did win. The team that was the worst in football last year. So, but you take the wins where you can get them. Didn't allow any touchdowns, like I said earlier in the Cam Ward segment. And the defense just looked great. The defense really did look awesome. And yeah, a lot of pressure, not a lot of open receivers. And the offense did enough. They had a couple drives that looked pretty good. The running game overall didn't do great, but there was one drive where RJ Harvey broke one for I don't know exactly how long, but it was like somewhere around 45, 50-yard run, and then we punched it in with J.K. Dobbins. So did I love what I saw from the Broncos? Not completely, but I'm fine with it, and I can see the path forward, and I'm not too worried. We got the Colts this week. We just talked about the Colts. They beat
Mhm.
up on the Dolphins. I don't think the Colts are particularly good. Hopefully, we can prove that this week, and Bo Nix can kind of get right. But um, yeah, I mean, my thoughts on the season as a whole haven't changed. But I've got my eye on Bo Nix. I don't want to see that sophomore slump. I want to see him kind of be the more level-headed, mature quarterback that we saw last year.
Yeah, I think the Broncos are still firmly in, you know, do not start this player against the Broncos defense territory in fantasy. You know what I mean? Like they're still like if I see one of my players is playing against the Broncos, I'm benching them because they're not. I do not think they're going to do well unless they're like some kind of superstar. But like I don't think they're going to do well. And so we'll see how they fare against the Colts. I think it'll be yeah. I always forget that like Colts Broncos is like technically like the battle. Like it's two horse teams, you know. So we're battling
Right.
out.
All our best quarterbacks have come from the Colts.
Yeah, so true. So true. Speaking of that, I was watching Sunday Night Football, which I mean we haven't really talked about Sunday Night Football from week one, but holy smokes, what a game. Um, but I was watching they did a little preview, like a not a preview, but like a promo or like a whatever you want to call it. Peyton Manning was in it, and uh, he was wearing a Colts like
Yeah.
jacket, and it was I think it was the first time I've seen him wear Colts gear since like he left the Colts. Like I was like, whoa, Peyton Manning's in like on TV wearing Colts stuff. Like that's crazy. He might wear
Yeah.
it if like the Colts are on Monday Night Football on the Manning cast, and I just haven't watched in a while. But like, I have not seen him do that. That was pretty wild.
He's really adopted the Broncos as his team. And I think he lives in Denver, so I mean maybe
Yeah,
that affects things. But yeah, it's kind of crazy for he played the last little quarter of his career in Denver, but really kind of embraced the city. So
I mean
it's cool.
they
I like
believed
him.
in him.
Yeah.
They were the ones who believed in him. But yeah, so all right, so we've come to the Seahawks, who did not win on Sunday. They played against the 49ers, which, because it is a year within the decade of the 2020s, they lost to the Niners, which I am not, I do not care for. In particular, I have family members who are 49er fans who I'm seeing in a couple of days, and I'm not going to be hearing the end of it while I'm with them, which is, never fun. But it was kind of like the way I felt about it watching it was like this must have been what it felt like for 49er fans when they were losing to Seattle's crappy offenses during the 2010s. like, like it was just like both defenses were playing pretty well, but the offenses on both sides were just like after the first Niners drive that they had that went like they went 95 yards on their first drive to score a touchdown, and then George Kittle left the game, and then from there they didn't really do much except until the last drive of the game, and so like both defenses played pretty well, but both offenses played not good at all. And so it was just like watching this game it felt very much like watching those old Seahawks Niner games, but with the teams reversed. Like the Niners were the ones who had the quarterback who can make the play to win those close games, and the Seahawks did not. Um, and so I think the biggest thing is that I said it on this show sometime previewing, I think it was in our NFC West preview. The defense is going to have to carry the Seahawks until the offense can find their legs. That much was obvious to me, just by the fact of there are a bunch of new players in this offense. They're missing players from last year that were big features. They have a new offensive coordinator. All that together means it's going to be a slow start. That happened, and the defense did carry them put them in a position to win the game. I think what was discouraging and why I'm like a little bit on the negative side when it comes to the offense is like there is no second receiver on the Seahawks right now, and it's not good. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba, I will say this about that: I didn't know. I wasn't ready to say that he was going to be ready to be a number one, but he looks like he is, because he was cooking everybody on Sunday. He had like 124 receiving yards. He had he was targeted like, I don't know, 16 times or something ridiculous, which is the problem. There's no second pass catcher in Seattle right now that they're like going to at all. And when they are going to people like Cooper Kupp, this is where I really just like fell to my knees. It was third down and like 4 or so. I have seen Cooper Kupp run this route, like this, whatever you want to call it, quick in-breaking route, sit and catch the ball just past the sticks. I've seen him run it a million times against the Seahawks to extend Rams drives, then make me pissed off. It's 3rd and 4. He runs that route, sits on the sticks, and drops the ball. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
Sleeper agent.
I'm like, dude, are you serious? I could not believe it. That is the point where I kind of like I was like, oh no, this is going to be worse than I thought it was going to be. Like, and look, he didn't play all preseason, so like the first couple weeks are essentially preseason for a lot of these starters for Seattle because none of them played, and so I will give him time to get his hands warm, but like that cannot happen. Like, especially again, like with Seattle, like you got to show up in those situations. Like, and so, discouraging look at the offense because of that. I think my favorite thing that happens after week 1 is I get to listen to the Seahawks man-to-man podcast. Shout out to them and Michael Sean Dugar, who's a beat writer for Seattle. And after week 1, he always has one thing of like, yeah, this is what that looked like in training camp, and I couldn't say it until right now, but yeah, that's what that looked like. And it was the receivers this time around. He was like, yeah, it looked like there was no number 2 all training camp, and obviously I couldn't say that, but now that we've seen week 1, that's what it looked like. And so this is not a good thing. So this is something that's going to be a problem, I think, going forward that I wasn't really expecting. And so, we'll see. But there's also running back confusion. It seems like half the building wants Charbonnet to run the ball and half the building wants to try Ken. And so it results in neither one getting the touches they need, which is another bad thing. And of course, Rick Woolen, he blew it. And there's talk of him perhaps not starting this week against the Steelers. It's a mess over there in the corner space. So looking ahead to the Steelers, DK Metcalf revenge game, going to be super fun to watch him go toe to toe with some of the corners and cook them. And so I do not know that I have a ton of faith in Seattle to win the game in week 2, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, DK revenge game, going to be super fun to watch him go at it. But yeah, got to go against Jalen Ramsey again. Fun for us. So that's Seahawks fan corner. Long-winded, but it's week 1, and it was super fun to watch them play. They almost won. I didn't really think they were going to stand a chance. And then, and if Kittle had stayed in the game, they would not have stood a chance. But he left the game, and they had a shot to win. And, they played hard. The defense played hard. They're going to be good. And so when the offense finds itself, they should be okay going forward. So, all right. So another segment that we love is our Locked In segment, where we make some predictions. We're making that a feature of our NFL shows going forward as well. So let's get some predictions in for week 2. We are recording this on Thursday, so no Thursday night Packers Commanders predictions, please. But for week 2, what do you guys have? Let's start with Matt.
Yeah, my prediction for the week, I don't know if you guys saw Grant Delpit, safety for the Browns, came out and said that he believes Derrick Henry is easy to tackle and he's not worried about bringing him down after watching what Derrick Henry did against the Bills. And then Derrick Henry's response to that was, "I guess we'll see." And I do believe if there is a Derrick Henry runaway, he's not going to try and beat him to a point. I think Derrick Henry's going to run at him, right? Like if they're in the middle of the open field, Derrick Henry's not going to try and break for a sideline. He's going to go for Delpit. And, we've seen a dozen of these types of plays for Derrick Henry where he just stiff arms someone in a way that like uncles do to their nephews in the backyard. I think Derrick Henry is going to do one of those types of uncle to the nephew stiff arms to Grant Delpit this week. At some point, he's gonna lower the shoulder and truck him, or he's gonna just put his hand on that face mask and throw him. He's gonna do something that embarrasses Grant Delpit because holy crap, you can't be stupid enough to taunt Derrick Henry, dude. Like, there's like 3 players in the NFL you don't taunt, and he is one of those 3. It's beyond me that he's done this to the Browns.
Not a good idea. Did you guys? I mean, we're talking about Derrick Henry. Did you guys watch Sunday Night Football?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, how about the Ravens? Like, I mean, they looked so good. Like, that's the thing. Is like both teams, they took turns looking good, and then like the game went crazy. But I think
I was playing against both Derrick Henry and James Cook in fantasy.
yeah, that's a bummer.
Less than ideal.
And now I am this week. I have your opponent from last week this week, so just it's in God's hands. But yeah, so the Ravens. I mean, I think the biggest question that a lot of us had was like, are Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry going to be able to do what they did last year? And Derrick Henry sure looks like he's going to be able to. Like, he played super good in that game. Obviously, the fumble that turned the tide was not great. But any Ravens thoughts before we move on? I want to talk about them a little bit because they did so good, and Bills too.
They're going to be fine.
Yeah, both of these teams are going to be. I mean, these were our 2 Super Bowl picks, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's just they're both top 2 teams in the league potentially. One of them had to win the game. Like, it is what it is, man.
I mean, I'm not taking much from that game in terms of like, oh, but the Ravens lost. It's like, well, let's see them play like all the other teams, and they'll have maybe 3 total losses at the end of the year.
Yeah, this is like one of those rare years where, like in the AFC, I might not want a like unexpected team in the championship game. I want to see that again. Like, I want that to happen again, and please let it happen again. Okay, so let's stick with predictions here. So just a recap of that one. Derrick Henry's going to stick it to Grant Delpit after the taunting this week. Yes, very good idea to goad on Derrick Henry. That's something I would suggest doing. Drew, what is your prediction for this week, week 2?
Yeah, my prediction is regarding Thursday Night Football. Packers, Commanders. I think the Packers are going to win that game 27-18.
Okay.
That's my official prediction.
So keep an eye on that.
My real one is my real prediction is that as the Lions and Bears match up this weekend, It's Ben Johnson's first game against his old squad. We've talked about the Bears and the Lions today. My prediction is that Ben Johnson and the Bears win his first matchup against his old, I guess you could call him a mentor, Dan Campbell. And yeah, I think the Lions might be kind of stinky. I think the Bears will get little by little more solid and less mistake prone as the season goes on.
More gooder.
Yeah, more gooder. I think they'll be um, definitely improved. So that's my prediction.
If if there's like if the Bears feast against the Lions, that's like gonna be like really hard to swallow in Detroit. Like I would be interested to see how that plays out from the fan base perspective. Like if they really go for it. Um, and I imagine like Ben Johnson is he's a terrorist. Like if he does not like you, he will humiliate you. And so I fully expect not that he like I don't know that he has any reason to have hard feelings
Probably
toward the
has
Lions,
bad
but
blood.
yeah, no bad blood, but it's like you want to stick it a little bit. And if a regular person would consider that they might want to stick it to him a little bit, Ben Johnson wants to bury them. He wants to kill them to death inside of 3 quarters. Like he wants Caleb Williams sitting for the last 10 minutes because they're up by 40. Like that's what he wants.
They've gone for
Um,
like 200 yards.
yeah, yeah, something like that. Um, and so, look, I would like to see it. I like revenge games, even if they're not pure revenge. I like to see people go up against people who they used to work for. It's always fun. Um, okay, so that'll do it for our NFL show. We have an idea for a fun new segment that we'll debut next week, hopefully on our NFL show to end the show. So we'll check that out when we get to it. So a little tease for next week's NFL show. But uh, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check out Pete Carroll versus Jim Harbaugh. It's happening again. We're getting it back Monday Night Football. The Harbaugh's press
You see
conferences
Pete's
have already
comments?
been good. Yeah, the comments have already been good. Like Harbaugh saying, like we would have been good friends if we didn't coach against each other. Like, and it's just
Pete being like, I have no fond memories.
yeah, Pete being like, I don't think so, actually. It's so funny because Pete is such like a good vibes guy. There is one person on earth he cannot stand, and it is Jim Harbaugh, and it's hilarious. And so it'll
Hmm.
be fun to watch him. So, that's a little plug for week 2. Check that game out. It'll be on Monday Night Football. But until next week, just make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube. Leave the comments how your team did week 1, what your overreactions are. Give us some more of those. We'd love to hear some of your overreactions. Follow us on Instagram at Dingers and Stingers. And until our next episode, we will see you then. And take care. Thank you. Goodbye.